Hey, all right. It's the last morning. I'm with Tommy Robinson, talking to him about this trip. So we're just going to pass the phone back and forwards, right?
Yes, sir.
So I'll tell you what. I'll ask the first question. Overall, the difference between Israel, impressions, and what you expected.
Well, overall, the main impression, you know, like when I said to anyone I knew as well, this is what shocked and surprised me. I said to anyone I know, I'm going to Israel. What the hell are you going there for? That's what everyone said. Everyone. My mum, my dad, my wife, don't go. Please don't go. As though like, and then the reality of coming here, we're in a beautiful country. I felt safe the entire time I'm here. More safe. I felt more safe walking around here than I do walking around Luton.
I'll just say, I mean, we walked through refugee camps in Bethlehem and Nazareth, and it was better than Luton.
It was better than Luton because they didn't know who I was.
Yeah,
obviously, if they were fully aware who I was, I think it would have been a whole different ballgame. But in general, the general feeling when I walked around this city, when I've walked around other cities, the general feeling that surprised me with the Arabs as well was there's no attitude from them. I didn't sense any attitude or hostility. Yeah. Which you'd feel more hostility and attitude from Muslims in the UK. And that's not because of who I am. I mean, before who I was, before I set up the English Defence League, before I criticised the Prophet, before any of these things, you'd get more hostility. One of the most surprising things for me was when we were driving past and there was an Arab camel racing. So we pulled in. There was well over 1,000 young Muslim men.
I've never been in a crowd of Arabs that big in Israel. I mean, I've been in mixed crowds where there will be mostly Jews and some Arabs, but I've never been in a crowd of just Arabs like that.
Okay,
but then there were the Jewish families sitting on the.
Well, that's it. There was well over 1,000 young Muslim men, and we walked straight into the middle of it. When we walked straight in, and to be honest, they didn't really bat an eyelid. We walked in. There was 5 of us, and then in the middle of all of this, I've seen a young Jewish family sitting having a picnic.
Yeah.
With their children, with their family.
In fact, I saw some Ethiopian Jews and some Russian origin Jews,
yep.
all having family
all
picnics.
Just enjoying themselves in the park.
And 50 metres away, there's 1,000 Arabs watching camels.
Yeah, and even and before and afterwards, those 1,000 Arabs intermixed, walked past, right with the Jewish families. Now, if you had a Jewish family in the UK, very visible that they're Jewish, sitting in a field with 1,000 young Muslim men, there's going to be trouble for that Jewish family.
Cool.
That Jewish family will be. So it's not what I'd have expected.
Yeah.
That's not what I'd have expected to see. The Arabs I've met and spoke to were all pro-Israel.
Yeah.
Which again would be completely the opposite to what I'd expect to find.
Yeah.
I'd have expected to find that even the Arabs, and I'm not talking about. I mean, as we've gone places and I've gone out and I've met different people, I've just pulled them aside and tried to ask them for their own view, because more than anything, so travelling around, one of them. So I didn't want to just come here and spend time with Israeli Jews, showing me completely everything from an Israeli Jewish perspective, which is why I took the risk. And if I'm honest, I was very nervous when we were in the back of a taxi going into a Palestinian refugee camp. I was very nervous.
You and me both.
My head was going, and I was thinking, what the hell? Do the pros outweigh the cons of this? Like, the cons are that if someone recognises me, I'm going to be killed. But at the same time, I'm not going to, without getting into that refugee camp, without meeting those Palestinians who live there, without talking to them about who they're angry with, about who's oppressing them, about what the problems are, I'd only have one perspective, which is the whole reason why we took that risk to do that. And by going in there, I'd say that Taz, one of the best men I've met or I can relate with, how he was, how he spoke.
Actually, the 2 Palestinian guides who helped us in getting into that camp, amazing people, people.
And I related with him. I related with him, and when I got talking to him, the thing that this was again another surprise for me. The surprise was that his anger, his frustration, was not at Israel at all. His anger and frustration was at the Palestinian Authority. The Palestinian Authority, who he said are purposely keeping them as a tool for the world's propaganda, for worldwide donations. They're being kept in 17 refugee camps. they're keeping them in those situations because it benefits their goal and their benefit of aid and their benefit of hatred of Israel and their benefit, all these reasons. So here you have, and when I walked around that area, I've got 3 young children. So I would look at any children, whether they be children growing up under ISIS, or children growing up anywhere, they're children. Yeah? And I watched and I walked around there, and I found that in 50 years of foreign aid, in 50 years of millions, hundreds of millions in donations into the Palestinian cause, there was still not even one single park, one swing, one park for anything for the children to do. Now, all the people, what we'd be told is that that's Israel's fault. That's what we'd be told in England. Everyone would be told Israel's fault. Look what the Jews are doing to these poor people. When you go look around there, look at what the situation is. But that's not what I found when I got talking to people in the camp. I got talking to them who their anger and their frustration was at Palestinian Authority, who were purposely doing this. So that was I hugely benefited from walking around that camp.
And over on the Israeli side, it was. What did you learn about the Jewish connection to Israel?
Well, it's the same again. It's like you hear all the time we hear all the time back home that Jews have invaded this land, and then as we're walking around, as we're going to all the tourist destinations, as we're going onto the historical sites, you find that there's staunch history and connections going back 2,000 years, non-stop, from historic finds to just everything that always puts Jewish people as their land, and always says in their scripture that this is the promised land, and they've been exiled from this land so many times, and they will come back to the land. It's their homeland. And I don't take what I always took when I talk about. I've always said I'm pro-Israel, and the reason I've said that was I don't say that. I don't even know really the true histories of the land. I said that because I believe that the Jewish people deserve a homeland. Now, it's probably hard to find where. I didn't even realise the historical points to it. It was just simply that I thought a third of these people were nearly wiped out, a third of their race were nearly wiped out in the Holocaust, and they're persecuted because I've seen myself how they're treated, how they're targeted. I've seen myself the security levels they have to take in every European country. I've seen myself the attacks on schools, on children, on rabbis, and all these different things. So then I thought, so these people are going to be attacked and targeted more and more now as we move forward as well, which I think becomes more relevant to have a homeland, because they're going to come under intense hostility in Europe. So then you want to have this community under intense hostility, and you don't want anywhere for them to go. That's how it looks. That's what, as a basic, sitting in Luton without interest in anything like that, that's what I saw.